to come up with every week. So I'm like torn on it, but I really do miss doing it every week. So today I am excited to share with you guys something from a new book that I am reading. And first we're going to start with gratitude for April. I cannot believe it's the month of April. It's insane. It's gone by so fast. Tomorrow's my brother's birthday. I just realized April 6th. So let's type in the chat or on the Facebook feed what you are grateful for this month and or today. And oh my gosh, what is this? Do y'all see that? I don't know what's happening, but I just saw this. That's so bizarre. Clearly that's gonna have to be fixed. Let me just tuck it back there for the time being. Nikki, what are you guys grateful for? Oh, we got some. It's your tail. Yes. Nikki, you took mine. I was going to say Easter and Holy Week. Easter is my favorite holiday by far. I love Easter so much. And I'm super grateful for Holy Week. Grateful for spring weather. Yes, totally. What else are you guys grateful for? Lots of people hopping in. For coffee today, Monica, that's one of the things on my list I'm going to talk about. You're going to die. I know. Grateful for a healthy family. Ethan, yes, you guys were sick for like a while around the holidays. I feel like all y'all had it. Everybody's been sick. It's been crazy. Jamie, yes, same thing. Oh my gosh. I am so jealous. Jamie is going to my favorite church ever this weekend, Church of the Highlands with Pastor Chris Hodges. Oh my gosh, you've got to text me and tell me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Susan is visiting her family in New Orleans. Love it. Steph, warmer weather. Yeah, it was beautiful. Oh, thanks, Curtis. I really miss you. It's been beautiful in Charleston. I'm here this week for Easter and the holidays. It was so nice yesterday. There's a huge tennis tournament happening. The Charleston Credit One Charleston Open with the professional women's tennis. And so the kids are ball crewing. So they're like on the big stage. It's been really, or stadium, not really a stage, whatever it is. But anyway, it's been really great. So lots to be grateful for. Okay, isn't this ugly? However, it was like the clearest image of a brain that I could find. And I wanted to share some stuff with you guys today from this book that I'm reading. And I really, really, really like it. And I don't know about you, but I don't frequently think about my brain. I feel like I'm always like, oh, I'm worried about my knee or my stomach hurts or something like that. Or I have a headache. I guess that's kind of your brain, not necessarily like how is your brain health. So I got this book called Change Your Brain Every Day, and it looks really thick, but you just read one page a day. So it's kind of like a 365-day. I've heard of Dr. Daniel Amen for a while because those of you that know Diana Kokoska, she has studied him forever. And Linda McKissick and Diana actually went and got their brains scanned last year. It was like the one thing that they always kind of do fun stuff together when their husbands are go on their fishing trip. So last year they actually went to the Amen Clinic in Texas. And I believe it's in Austin. I believe he's in Austin. And they got their brain scanned. And it comes back with all these crazy, things to tell you about your brain. However, I'm reading this book and I'm loving it. And there's a couple things I thought, okay, I know we're talking about mindset on here. So I just wanted to share a couple of these things with you. So Dr. Amen has actually studied over 225,000 brain scans. I believe he's the largest in the country. And he says there's only 3 things that can actually change your behavior in the long run. Number 1 is an epiphany, like seeing your brain scan, or an epiphany, like maybe, God forbid, you have something happen to you and you have an epiphany of like, okay, I got to get healthy, or I got to change. The number 2 thing is a change in your environment. So what and who surrounds you. And then number 3 is taking baby steps or creating tiny habits. And so we know that when you create tiny habits, there's actually a book called Tiny Habits. I think it's orange. I started it and I never finished it, to be honest. But it talks about how you have to like habit stack and have tiny habits. So a lot of this he talks about in the book. If you are not following him on Instagram, and you're on Instagram, I would highly recommend that you do. He posts really great reels on like super healthy things, a lot of things for your mindset, a lot of things for your brain. I mean, it's just super, super good. So here is what his Instagram looks like. He's written other books too. This is just his newest book. So I wanted to share with you the first story that he talks about in the book. And I don't know if some of you might be too young. Some of you will remember Lisa Gibson. She was like a media personality. Okay, so he knew her, they were friends. Her mother and her grandmother both had Alzheimer's disease. And so he was her friend. They were just friends, not like a doctor relationship. And he kept saying, because it's in your genetics, you really need to get your brain scanned. And she was like, I don't want to. I don't want to know. I'm one of those. Type in the chat, by the way, just because I'm totally curious, or on Facebook comments. Are you one of those people that you totally don't want to know, or you would want to know something ahead of time? Want to know or don't want to know? Heather, I'm interested to hear your response on that. Want to know or don't want to know? Want to know. No, thank you. Curtis, I knew that would be you. Would want to know. Would want to know if you can fix it. Yes. Would not want to know. Okay. Yeah. I go back and forth depending on what it is. So probably not, Ethan. Yeah. Wouldn't want to know. See, that's everyone's natural tendency. Okay. Most people's. So he said he told her, well, if you knew a train was going to hit you, wouldn't you at least want to try to get out of the way? And she was like, okay, good point. So she did the brain scan. So on the left is a picture of her brain scan. It showed several areas of very low blood flow, which means she was headed for trouble, meaning she had early stages, or she had early signs of potentially having dementia and or Alzheimer's in the future. And there's specific scans. He talks about them in the book. I don't remember what they are. So anyway, he gave her a list and she started working the program of different things that you can do. Some of them I'm going to share with you today to get your brain healthier. And then 10 years later, he did the brain scan again, and that was her brain on the right. And I believe today she's like pretty healthy. I don't think she ever got Alzheimer's. So he says the most important thing is you're not stuck with the brain that you have. With the right guidance, you can make it better, and he can prove it because clearly he's done 225,000 brain scans. So the first thing he kind of talks about is spending time on your spiritual side. So I listed out the 9 questions that he poses in the book, and he shared these before on his Instagram. But first, you kind of have to start with believing that you have a purpose and what your purpose is in the world, because that allows you to actually have a happier brain. So the questions are, what is the meaning of my life? Where do I find purpose? Why am I here? What do I value most in life? Where do I put my faith? What role does faith play in my life, no matter what it is? How am I connected to people from the past and the future? What's my connection on earth, and where am I happiest? And when I read number 7, I was like, I kind of struggle with that. I don't know how I connect with people from the past and the future. Although Adam's not on, he's at the DMV, so I can tell a story about him this morning. When he sees a cardinal, he feels connected to his dad who passed away. So I thought, okay, that could be an example. And I feel like, is it Heather isn't it you that finds the penny? I think it is. So if you think about some of these questions, this is how you first think about with your spiritual life, because that allows you to realize that your life is more than about you, and it actually affirms that your life matters. So he kind of wants you to start there. Then he goes into many different ways on how you can boost things. So here are some more natural ways that you can boost serotonin. For those of you that don't like seafood, Jamie, do you love seafood, don't you? Me too. Yep. For those of you that don't like seafood, sorry, but one of the number one ways is to eat more seafood. I definitely try to eat seafood at least twice a week. But I know it's hard depending on what area you're in, and if you can get fresh seafood. It should be wild caught, they say, by the way, which is best for your brain. But anyway, number 2, we always talk about comparison. Make an effort to compare yourself to others in a positive way. So that was kind of an interesting one. Number 3, take certain nutritional supplements. Here is a list of the ones that he recommends that are actually best for your brain. Ironically, sorry, Heather, you're out on number 1. Ironically, she won't eat seafood. Yes, shameless Charleston plug, Curtis. That's right. I'm lucky with the oysters here. I can get them pretty good, pretty fresh. Ironically, I got a vitamin drip yesterday because Adam was sick last week and he's never sick and he was like really sick. And so I was like, man, I don't have time to get sick. So I went and got a vitamin drip yesterday, which I really do love those. And she did extra magnesium, extra B12. And then I put a list on my Instagram. There were a lot of other things, but she did 3 extra pushes, meaning they do the regular drip bag that has all the stuff in it. A lot of people know that, by the way, as I always worry people are going to think that I'm hungover when I get these, because a lot of people know them as the hangover bag, but that's not the reason why I get them. But a lot of people will go get one if they have like a really bad hangover. Apparently, she told me that yesterday. However, she did 3 extra pushes in mine yesterday of something I can't remember, but it was for and one was for inflammation and one was for for immunity, stronger immunity. And he talks a lot in the book about inflammation and how it's not good for your brain. So here's the nutritional supplements he recommends for a healthier brain. Number 4, I'm happy to report, indulge in regular massages. Yes, many of you are like, okay, now I have an excuse to get a massage. Number 5 is focus on what you like more than what you don't like. And that's a really good way to boost your serotonin too. Adam always says that. I'll say, I don't want da 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 da. And he'll say, tell me what you do want. And I'm like, oh, it's harder to say what I don't want. But if you focus on what you like, that's better. Here are the ways that he proposes for you to actually boost your dopamine. There are certain foods that are rich in tyrosine, I think is how you say it. Not really sure on some of these words, but the amino acid building block. And actually, oh shoot, hold on one second, because I had the page pulled up. Oh man. Nope, shoot, I can't find it. I'll try to look for it while we're on here, but I had the page pulled up to read you some of the list of those. Eat a high protein, low carb diet. High protein really is good for dopamines. Exercise regularly, listen to upbeat music, get more sunshine. Again, your supplements, and then setting goals, you guys, is a really good natural way to boost dopamines, which is really great. So here is one of the pages out of the book, day 19. This is what a page looks like, by the way. It's just a day, one day at a time. A really great brain lesson on each page, and then it gives you a practice item at the bottom. I'm putting this in Adam's Easter basket too, because I know that he is going to want to read this, but I think it's a really great gift for people too that you might have in your life. But he says in the book, you cannot change what you do not measure. So a lot of times, I don't know, some of you may go to a functional medicine doctor. Some of you may not be into this stuff at all. I tend to be into it, especially the older that I get. But here is a page I really, really liked on the 12 important numbers to track on a yearly basis. So even if you're not going and having brain scans and like full out, whatever, everything, these are the things that you absolutely should know at all times: your BMI, your blood pressure, and the number of hours that you sleep at night. And he gives you in these like ones that you should like aim for or whatever. The next one are all the blood tests. So number 4 through 11, your vitamin D, your thyroid. You can go down the list and see these, but if you want to take a screenshot of this, but he also tells you exactly kind of where you should be. Your free and total testosterone is definitely age and gender dependent. That's one of the things I've talked a lot, Adam and I have, with our doctors on. And then lastly, you're supposed to rate how many of the 10 most important modifiable health risk factors do you have. So these down here on the bottom are 10 that actually are risk factors, especially for your brain. So if you vape, then that's a risk factor. If you have high blood pressure, that's a risk factor. So you can kind of go through and see what those are. And then he gives you an action item at the end, or like a little practice. And they're really, really good. All of them are really good. So I know a lot of you will probably say, well, my genetics, whatever it's in my genetics. And so here's kind of what he talks about when it comes to genetics. He says, number 1, you need to know your vulnerability and work on prevention as soon as possible. He said obesity and heart disease run in his family, but he's not overweight, and so he does not have heart disease. He knows his risks and he works hard to avoid them. Number 2, you want to avoid any risk factors that accelerate disease for your genetics. This was a crazy one, you guys. He said, for example, any child who wants to play a contact sport with a high likelihood of concussions, like football, hockey, horseback riding, should be screened for the APOE4 gene. If you have that, its presence increases the risk of cognitive decline and dementia later in life. Therefore, if you had a head injury, that would exacerbate that in a major way. So if you actually have that gene as a child, you would consider non-contact sports such as golf, tennis, table tennis, cross-country running, track, or dance. So there's tons of different things that you can know, but you want to avoid. Number 3, engage in regular healthy habits to decrease the expression of problem-promoting genes. So he said research has shown that vitamin D, blueberries, turmeric, green tea can decrease the plaques that actually contribute to Alzheimer's disease. My grandmother passed away, my mom died of Alzheimer's disease. So I do a lot of research and studying around that, which is another reason why I started getting vitamin D shots. And I don't like green tea, but I do eat a lot of blueberries and I do take turmeric juice shots a lot too. But just things that you can know, right? If you know what's in your genetics, then you can at least figure out some habits that you could decrease that. Early screenings, this is kind of goes back to our question in the chat. If you think you're at risk for brain health issues, then an early screening is essential. As society today, we screen our hearts, our bones, our breasts, our prostates. Very few people actually look at their brains, and that needs to change. I think I'm going to ask this for Adam for Christmas this year, one of these brain scans from the Amen Clinic. I'm like dying to go get one now. And then the last one is stop making excuses. Like it's too hard, it's too expensive, or this is one that I do before I don't want to feel deprived. He said, trust me, losing your memory and independence is hard and expensive. And sometimes you do have to deprive yourself of things that you might like. Caffeine, for example, is one of them. This was a really great point in the book that when it comes to your mindset, I wanted to share with you today. And I've actually been really working on doing this. He says, whenever you come to a decision point in your day, ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? It will only take about 3 seconds. And if you can answer the question with information and love, you will quickly have a better brain. So last night we were at the tennis tournament and I had a glass of wine and then I was like, the match was going on and on and on and on. It was like a longer one. And we still had to stay for the second one after that. And so I was like, maybe I should have a glass of wine and second glass. And instantly I was like, no, that's actually not good for my brain. I'm not going to because I had been thinking about this question because I've been reading this book. So just asking yourself, is it good for your brain or is it not? And so in closing, a few action items, there are 365 action items in the book. But here's a couple ones that I really liked. Number 1, caffeine. Heather, it has a lot to do with your brain. So you have to ask yourself, number 1, how much, yes, junk food. Actually, Jess, hold on, I'll talk about that in 1 second. How much caffeine do you consume daily? And can you cut it down by 25% and see how you feel? Because they do say caffeine, Heather, you need to tell Keith that. I've never seen somebody drink so many Mountain Dews in my life. It really does things to your brain. Number 2 is list 3 reasons why you want or need a better brain. Mine was pretty easy because my mama died of Alzheimer's. Then that's a big reason. And then I had 2 other reasons too. So you can think about that. That should say think, not thing. Sorry, I was typing too fast. Think of 3 world-changing accomplishments done by someone's brain and write them down. Because think about how your brain can do amazing things. And then the last one, which is easy for some people and not easy for others, but evaluate your family's history and list which illnesses tend to run in your family. So if you have cancer in your family or high cholesterol or Alzheimer's or high blood pressure or, Adam's dad died of Parkinson's. So, I mean, there are going to be, things in your family history. And if you can make a list and know what some of those are, then you can start to do things to prevent them just by starting your tiny habits. The one thing to go back to Jess the question really fast that he said, which I could talk for hours on this. on the junk food thing, it's not so much junk food as it is processed food. Processed food is extremely bad for just everything, our bodies in general, but also our brains, that he's really big on. And so is a lot of the like top nutritionalists and ones that I really trust and follow. The whole like farm to fork to mouth thing. I mean, as much as you can eat just straight, no preservatives, no processed, no hormones, no anything like that, the better for your brain, also the better for your body. Yes, Milton is exactly right. Processed food, it's really convenient and it's cheap. Like, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I've been doing like 80-20 really well. I try. It's probably more like 70-30 if I'm being honest. But I mean, it's, $500 a week at Whole Foods. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's just in there, and I'm sure there are cheaper ways to do it. That's just what's convenient for me. But yeah, it's convenient, and it's things like that they'll talk about too, not in this book, but in other books on like we think certain things are healthy. Like I love me some Chick-fil-A, for example. A lot of times we feel like if we're eating Chick-fil-A instead of McDonald's, we're eating the healthier option. And the reality is that that's not really the case whatsoever. But yeah, she says a lot of people say, Jess, it's not as much just junk food. It's like actual processed food. And I'm learning that the one thing that you should really try to avoid is anything that has the word gum in the ingredients, like that Gellan gum, Gellan, the X something. I don't know how to say any of these words. That's another thing they say. If you can't pronounce the ingredient, you shouldn't be eating it. That's like a huge one that they talk about, especially for your brain. So, okay, I squirreled a little bit on that and went into food, but hopefully you guys like this. I thought it kind of went with mindset. And I would really encourage you to think about getting this book, Change Your Brain Every Day. I'm going to continue working through it. I'm only on like in the 20s on days now. And he also says to try to only read one a day, which is really hard because I've been wanting to read more and go faster. But hopefully you guys got some good tips. You can at least take one thing away to make your brain healthier. And I hope you have an awesome month. Maybe we should do twice a month. I don't know. We'll think about it. Miss you guys. Bye. Have a good week. See ya.